Can the xTool M1 Ultra replace the Cricut Maker 3?
Let's find out. Hi everyone, it's Chrissy from First Day of Home. When xTool reached out to review the new M1 Ultra, I honestly didn't expect it to be such a major upgrade from the original model. This 4-in-1 craft machine not only combines blade cutting and laser cutting, but also inkjet printing and pen drawing. It introduces 2 new types of blades and foil transfer tips to take your crafting to the next level. What I love most is the modular design that makes it easy to swap out carriages for multimedia projects. Let's go ahead and dive into 4 easy beginner projects and stick around to the end because I'll be sharing details on a $100 coupon offer.
Over the years, I've made a lot of stickers on my Cricut Maker 3 with the print then cut feature. This involves printing your design on a home printer before cutting out the stickers with your Cricut. The xTool M1 Ultra now has an inkjet module built in.
You can print and cut your stickers all with one machine.
To get started, I'm uploading my designs into xTool Creative Space and choosing multi-module processing. Then I added an outline to create a white border around my stickers. I'm placing my sticker paper onto the light grip cutting mat directly on the base plate of the machine.
Although the M1 Ultra doesn't have a built-in camera like the original model, I actually think the snapshot preview is a big improvement. It seems to be more accurate and it makes it really easy to format your design.
You also have the option of using pinpoint positioning to mark the area in which you want your design to stay. To do this, you'll just move the module and press the white button to mark the dimensions of your material. Back to the stickers. For the outlines, I'm using the fine point blade, and for the images, of course, I'm using the ink module. Once you are ready, you hit go to process and then follow the prompts to insert the fine point blade and then the inkjet module. After you install a carriage, you always want to lock the lever into place and the software will remind you if you forget. The ink module also has a wire that connects to the machine. You'll put the bottom cover of the ink cartridge down in the bottom right corner and the machine will actually pick it up once it's done printing.
You're probably wondering if the ink cartridge is replaceable, and the answer is yes. I'll put a link to those down in the description box along with all of the other products I mentioned today.
After you have all of your tools loaded, hit start and then press the button on the front of the machine to begin processing. If you're new here and enjoy crafts and DIY projects, hit that subscribe button down below. It took the machine about 20 minutes to print and cut these stickers, and to me this was so much easier than using Cricut's print then cut feature. If I have space left over on my sticker sheet, I can also use it for a future project.
Over the past few years, Cricut has really stepped up its game in greeting cards, pens, and foil transfer tools. So I wanted to see how the M1 Ultra stacks up. For this project, I'll be using plain cardstock, and we're going to print, foil, cut, and draw to make custom stationery.
I'm using the inkjet module again to print my images with an intensity of 90. Then for the text, I'm going to use a black pen and select drawing pen. For the border, I'm going to use that foil transfer tip with the regular tip type. Then I'll select fill transfer, and you can play with the parameters here after doing a few test runs. Of course, we want to cut our cards out, so for the outer rectangle, I'll use my fine point blade. For the material, I'm selecting cardboard, which is actually closer to cardstock. I like to start with the foil transfer step, so I'm applying my gold foil directly onto the cardstock and taping it down. Again, with Snapshot Preview, it's super easy to see exactly where your design should be, so I'm just going to finish formatting it here before we move on. I'm going to make sure only my foil transfer is toggled on to output before hitting go to process. The foil tip goes in the multifunction carriage, and if you forget, the software will always remind you, so you don't have to memorize this. Anytime you want to add an elegant touch to something like a greeting card or a gift tag, I think foil transfer is a great option. You can carefully peel up the edge to make sure it transferred all the way, and if not, you can always process it again. Next, I toggled on the inkjet printing and drawing and then swapped out my modules.
I was especially excited to test the drawing feature of the M1 Ultra. I received 8 pens with my package, and I'm hoping that they'll release more in the near future.
The pens come with an adapter and you'll place them in the basic carriage on the left. The machine will automatically move from printing to drawing, and here's the coolest thing about the pens and the foil transfer tips. They fill in text. You don't need a special handwriting font. Any font can be either an outline or filled in text. The final step is replacing our pen with the fine point blade and then hitting process to make our final outline cut. I ended up making 3 different cards so I could play around with different designs. I think these would make really cute stocking stuffers, or you could use them as personal stationery. Let me know down in the comments which of these designs is your favorite.
The M1 Ultra introduced a rotary blade to cut fabric, so I was really curious to see how this compares to the Cricut Maker 3 rotary blade.
I decided to make a butterfly applique for this mini tote bag, keeping with our insect theme. I'll be using the pink fabric grip mat for this, and I have a small piece of fabric that I've already washed and applied a fusible interfacing to. This will allow me to iron the patch onto my tote bag later. This time I'm going to choose blade cut instead of multi-module. Then I'm going to select rotary blade instead of our fine point blade. For the material, I'm just going to select this denim fabric sheet, which is similar to what I'm using here.
You may have to play around with the cut settings for your particular fabric, so I highly suggest trying to find a material that's similar in the software and then do a few test cuts before you make those final cuts on your project.
The rotary blade is going to go into that multifunction carriage on the right-hand side, so it's really easy to line up those arrows and place it in there. This is where Snapshot Preview really comes in handy when you're working with odd-shaped patches like this. I'm going to do some final tweaks to my settings and then hit Go to Process to begin. I absolutely love how this applique turned out. I would suggest starting with simple shapes before doing more intricate designs, but I think this turned out great. I was able to iron it onto the tote bag, and I think this is going to make a really cute little gift bag.
Of course, the biggest difference between the M1 Ultra and the Cricut Maker 3 is the laser module. To show you what that looks like, I'll be combining printing with laser engraving and laser cutting in this next project.
In xTool Creative Space, I'll start by choosing multi-module processing again. Then I'm going to begin by printing on my wood with the ink module, and here you can play with the settings. Then the next step will be engraving on the wood, and you can see an example of different power and speed settings here. And finally, we'll cut around the border of the keychains and bookmarks that I have here.
I'm using a 20-watt laser with my M1 Ultra, but you can also buy a 10-watt laser if you want something that's a little more budget-friendly.
For this project, I'm using triangular prisms to lift the material off the base plate. This helps prevent the base plate from getting scratched by the laser when it cuts. And here I'm using my 3mm basswood plywood, and I'll show you in a second a tip to prevent your wood from shifting. Once you've previewed your design and formatted everything in the software, you'll begin with the inkjet module. During my first attempt, I learned an important lesson. If you watch closely here, you'll see the wood shift slightly as the ink module went across it. To get around this issue, I just used some painter's tape and taped the wood to the base plate, and this seemed to do the trick. This is where I especially love that snapshot preview because I could just scoot my designs over and try this again. After the printing is all done, it's time to swap out the inkjet module for the laser module.
Since we're using a laser to cut wood for this project, make sure you're taking the necessary safety precautions outlined by xTool. This includes never leaving your machine unattended, making sure your material is laser safe, and always venting to the outside and making sure you have proper ventilation in your room. This may include having a smoke purifier or an inline fan. I know that's a lot, so I'm going to link to all of the safety requirements down in the description box below.
The M1 Ultra can cut basswood up to 10 millimeters thick. The Cricut Maker 3 can only cut basswood up to 2.4 millimeters with a knife blade, so this is a clear advantage of a laser machine.
I think this technique is a game changer for wood crafts. You could make custom puzzles, ornaments, phone stands, frames, any type of keepsake, and it would make a beautiful personalized gift for friends and family for the holiday season. All the projects that I shared before for the original M1 can also be made with the M1 Ultra, including engraved tumblers, cutting boards, earrings, even stamps. Plus, with the riser base, you can also process objects up to 125 millimeters thick. That's something the Cricut Maker 3 definitely cannot do. If you're interested in buying the M1 Ultra, I'm gonna put a link down below and pin in the comment a coupon for $100 off your purchase of $16.99 or more. I'll also leave a few tutorials over here if you wanna learn more about xTool and different projects you can make, and I hope to see you back here next time.